Hi, my name is John Pullman, and I'm here with my good friend Andrew Johnson today at Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic up in Minneapolis. And Andrew and I are going to be talking today about public land hunting in South Dakota. I'm a native of South Dakota. I've hunted there for 30-some years, and my first experiences growing up were on public land, and so it's always been a really important thing for me. My start in hunting eventually led me to get into kind of a side career in outdoor writing, and so I do quite a bit of outdoor writing for a number of different publications. Those stories that I tell, a lot of those go back to my start into hunting, and whether it was waterfowl, which I do a lot of duck and goose hunting, or pheasants, a lot of my hunting on a year-to-year basis takes place on public land. And so for me, it's been a great tool for me to use to be able to have just on a whim to be able to go drop everything and go hunt because I know I've got a place to go on some great public ground in South Dakota. So what Andrew and I are going to talk about later today is just the variety, the quality and the variety of opportunities that we have in the state. And Andrew can probably talk a little bit about just how much ground there is in South Dakota for public land hunters.
Yeah, as John said, we've known each other for a long time. We grew up hunting together. We started hunting when we were, teenagers. So between the two of us, we almost have 60 years of trying to scratch out a bird or a buck or a mallard on public ground in South Dakota. And there's over 5 million acres available. Now, about 2 million of that is forest ground with the Black Hills National Forest. But you have 1.27 walk-in acres, 1.27 million walk-in acres. Now that's private ground leased for hunting that you have access to. Now it's not all created equal, but there's prime opportunity there just for the taking. On top of that, you have over 1,000 waterfowl production areas scattered across 2/3 of the state. There's national grasslands, that's part of the Forest Service ground, but there's hundreds of thousands of acres of grassland, multi-species opportunity for prairie chickens, huns, sharpies, pheasants. Sometimes the further west you get in South Dakota, the pheasant becomes the bonus bird. Where if you're out there hunting sharptails and a rooster gets up and it's in season, that's fair game. There's over 240,000 acres of BLM land. Now that's further west, and there's big game opportunities out there. There's antelope, there's mule deer, there's whitetail deer. We've killed a lot of big whitetails on public ground. 170, 180 class whitetails on public ground in South Dakota. So the opportunity is there for the taking. We're here at Pheasant Fest to make sure that if you're wanting to make a trip to South Dakota, now here it's Pheasant Fest, and we're going to talk about pheasants. There's all this opportunity, and we don't want people to think you can couple that with a guided hunt, or you can go with a guide for a day or two and kind of learn the lay of the land and the ropes and how things work if you've never been there. Public land is there. It's an affordable option, and I think we just want to make people aware of all the varieties, because if you're a lab guy, you can pound cattails and close quarters combat, the flushing dog type, or if you want to go further west, there's pointing dog. If you're from the south, you're used to running quail, the grasslands might be a great option for you and your dogs. There's anything to suit your taste.
Mm-hmm. And I know one of the things that Andrew and I are probably going to hit on a lot today is that, and he mentioned it earlier, that not all these areas are created equally. You do have to do some scouting. You do have to do some planning and kind of find those areas that have all of the ingredients that you need for a good hunt, whether that's the type of the cover for the time of the year, availability of food, things like that. So you do have to put some legwork in. But I know Andrew and I know he would agree with me in saying that whether it's a strap of mallards or a whitetail or a limit of roosters or a single rooster for that matter, any bird that you take off of public ground or any animal that you take off of public ground is a trophy because you've earned it.
Absolutely.
It's something that you've put in the time to find and to scout and to do those things, and it happened on your ground, public ground. We're all public land hunters, or public land owners, excuse me.
And so today, as we go through our talk, we'll not only explain and kind of define the different public areas that are out there, but we'll also reference the tools that are available, whether it's through the Game Fish and Parks Department. They have apps, they have websites, they have maps. Everything's at your fingertips. It's there for for you to use. And combined with what John said, you can kind of outline a trip, and this stuff is so good these days online that you can literally look at the land. But then you want to go, you can look at the land on the website, but nothing beats firsthand recon. So you can kind of plan your trip, pick your poison, go from there, come on out. The water's just fine. There's plenty of birds. They're not going to hit your windshield as we cross the state line. You got to put in some work.
That's right.
But you know, South Dakota's still open for business when it comes to pheasant hunting, and it's awful good.
My name is Tom Carpenter. I'm the editor of the Pheasants Forever Journal in the stories section, the editorial content on the Pheasants Forever website. I've been an outdoor writer since 1982 when I was in college. One of my very first articles, I made $10 on it, was on pheasants. The other was for deer hunting. I grew up in southern Wisconsin, southwestern Wisconsin, and even then, back in the 1970s, public land was important to our hunting. I grew up with basset hounds. Believe it or not, basset hounds are great pheasant dogs. They go really slow. The pheasants really don't know what's going on. The only problem with basset hounds is they like fur better than feathers, and they take off after rabbits. To us, to me, even back then, pheasants were the ultimate trophy. I shot my first bird, my first pheasant, on November 7th, my birthday, 1974, along the railroad tracks west of Monroe, Wisconsin. In those days, that was public land. We had access. I could walk out my back door with a gun in a gun case, walk 2 blocks to the edge of town, and hunt to my heart's content with one of our basset hounds. My father worked for the railroad. I could get on a train and ride a caboose, believe it or not, west of town, 8-9 miles. They would drop us off with a basset hound, our guns, and we would hunt our way home. We don't have that today like we used to. Land ownership patterns have changed, the landscape has changed, and public lands are important. I'm a public land pheasant hunter now. This fall, with my dog Lark, who many of you have seen in Pheasants Forever Journal, I'll try and recount the states where we hunted public land pheasants this fall. North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, and Nebraska. So we rely on public lands for our hunting. I'm a big fan of Minnesota pheasant hunting, obviously living in Minnesota, but in all those states, the public land opportunities for me, for my dog Lark, are essential. I'd rather shoot a ring-necked pheasant than a 10-point buck, and people that know me know that. And public lands give us that opportunity. Since its inception, Pheasants Forever has created 203,000 acres plus of permanently public land. And I like to say, if you want to figure out how much that is, it's 318 square miles. If you walked the perimeter of each of those square miles, that would be 1,272 miles. That's the distance from the North Dakota border to Grandview, Texas, south of Dallas. And you haven't even walked the middle of that public land. That's not to mention all the other work that Pheasants Forever does with the Farm Bill, making great private land, great habitat on private land, much of it that ends up as walk-in for all the walk-in programs for states like Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas that you and I rely on for hunting. So keep up your Pheasants Forever membership, join, be active, answer the calls for when our legislative group in Washington, D.C. asks for your help. Legislators listen, and you make a difference. Thanks.
Midwest Gun Dog Kennels is your full-time gun dog training facility. For over 30 years, we have customized our training to fit each individual gun dog. We know it takes a well-trained gun dog to handle wild birds. Make every hunting trip a dream trip. Let Midwest Gun Dog Kennels put excitement back into your hunt of a lifetime. Midwest Gun Dog Kennels, where experience equals excellence.
Make your next day on the water even better with Airwave Pedestal, the only air suspension system that can be custom adjusted to the weight of the rider. No unreliable springs, no oil-filled shocks to leak. Our patented design utilizes a 2-stage suspension system to smooth out the roughest ride, while limiting travel to an industry-leading 2 inches. This boating season, enjoy your time on the water to the fullest. Find out how at airwavepedestal.com.
Dakota Pheasant Guide offers the best wild pheasant hunts from the Glacial Lakes area of South Dakota west to the Missouri River. Packages available include everything from self-guided to fully guided hunts. Book your bird hunting adventure now. Fishermen, iTime Promotions is your ticket to an enjoyable and successful day on the water. Call Dennis Foster for your outdoor adventure of a lifetime.
My name is Stephen Faust of Stony Brook Gordon Setters, and I am a rough grouse and woodcock guide. I guide from mid-September in northern Minnesota for Jerry Habel at Pine Ridge Grouse Camp. I go 8 weeks straight there, then I head south back home to western North Carolina, where I guide for rough grouse and Appalachians of Virginia and North Carolina, and woodcock down in central North Carolina. A little bit difference with woodcock in North Carolina. There are generally no grouse involved in that part of the state. Early in the woodcock season, if the weather has been okay and mild, then we can find woodcock in the mountains during the grouse hunt, so you can go both there. But generally most of my woodcock guiding is done in the central part of the state. A little bit different, whereas Minnesota is, you can always find grouse and woodcock together until they, of course, have migrated out. But by then, I'm generally migrated out too, so it's okay. I guide over Gordon setters. I grew up with English setters and English pointers, and my dad was a big pointer man, but we had setters as well. And I was drawn to the Gordon setter because I'm a little bit of an old soul, and I like the old classics of the Gordon setter. And my first one just proved to be a fantastic gun dog, and I never looked back. I've been breeding now for a couple decades. I like a bigger, stronger, solid dog that can go all day, and that's part of the Gordon Setter's breed standard, is the heaviest boned of the setters, built for all-day labor. The Gordon Setter is just the Scottish version. You have the Irish, the English, and the Gordon, named after the 4th Duke of Gordon, who cemented in the black and tan when he bred in the hound back in reportedly in the 1500s, I believe. The Gordon is an old dog, just like all 3 setters. They've been reportedly bred since the early 1400s and mismatched. The nobility bred them all together. They didn't really care much about lines. They cared about good dogs. The Gordon is a foundation dog in the Llewellyn setter, which most people don't realize. Llewellyns and Gordons share that common bond. And it's nice to see a few folks out there realizing that and realizing the Llewellyn's shrinking gene pool and trying to turn it with reintroduction of some Gordon. If that will ever be possible, I don't know. I like the Gordon for their work rate. They are very workmanlike. They know their job. They know finding the bird is their job and what they're supposed to be doing. And when the Duke introduced the hound into the Gordon, he introduced the best nose, which is why he did it, in the dog world, is the hound dogs. So in my opinion, Gordons have a nose that's far above what I've seen in any other dog. And I have several that I have seen pick up scent that other dogs go right by. Once they hit that scent, they will work it out tirelessly until they find the bird. They don't like to be beaten by the bird. And with a grouse, sometimes the bird's gone before we get there, and that's okay. They will work until they just decided that it's gone, and we go find another one. Once we get that little bit of scent, I have several that will have taught themselves to cut off a running bird. I have one that can trail a bird, and she's trailed for over 200 yards before and take us right to a waiting grouse. And that scenting capability and the intelligence in the Gordon is what leads to that. The Gordon breed motto is beauty, brains, and bird sense. And I like a beautiful dog too. I mean, I like to have a dog that's an attractive dog, and part of my breeding program is to make sure that not only are they superior bird dogs, intelligent bird dogs, but they're also beautiful dogs. So that's where I'm headed with mine. I've imported a couple who have some show line in them from Australia, and working lines from Italy and Scotland, the Czech Republic, Poland, and Russia. They are a good blend of dogs, a good blend of working dogs, and they are to the breed standard of size and performance. So that's where I'm headed. So we're here at Pheasant Fest in Minneapolis, and I would like to thank Pheasants Forever for all their habitat work they've done on behalf of all bird hunters. We're all one big family no matter which bird we chase, and we need to stick together that way. And it's just a lot of fun to be around so many like-minded people. And you feel like you're at hunting camp all day. We're talking to people, and I represent a boot company, Gum Leaf Boot, to represent the boots, but to meet people, to shake hands of clients that I've seen and haven't seen since the fall, or last fall even, and clients that will be coming in the spring and summer. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys again next fall. So I'd like to thank Pheasant Fest for having us and for getting us all together.
Hey, this is Casey Wiseman, the Executive Director of the Aberdeen Convention and Visitors Bureau, here at Pheasant Fest in Minneapolis, promoting the 2020 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic. We are here to welcome you to Aberdeen and take advantage of everything Aberdeen has to offer, whether it's public land, public hunting, guides, outfitters, anything from A to Z, what you need to plan that next hunting trip to come to Aberdeen. You know, the number one question we get asked here at Pheasant Fest is, how can I come hunting out in South Dakota? How can I do it on my own? And you know what? Aberdeen has taken that next step into providing huntable acres in Aberdeen. We've come up with the Aberdeen Pheasant Coalition. And what is that, you ask? What it is, it's businesses, it's convention and visitors bureaus, chambers. It's businesses in Aberdeen that take a monetary incentive, a monetary investment on providing huntable acres for you to hunt. How does that work? We work with landowners, private landowners, to give them a little bit extra incentive to enroll their land into huntable acres. Whether it's CRP programs, CREP programs, whatever programs are available, we give them that extra incentive to bring those acres and put those acres into the ground for people to hunt. And it's been working great. You know, the biggest thing to actually give that extra step, to put those huntable acres into ground, we just, as the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Aberdeen, South Dakota, the Hotel Alliance, we want to welcome you to Aberdeen. We're working hard. We've already put 4,000 acres into the ground with the Pheasant Coalition, and we're looking to repeat that and go the 2.0 version and put another 4,000 acres back into the ground. Aberdeen just received an award from Pheasants Forever for the most acres put in by a chapter, and that's huge. That's huge for you. That's huge for us. We know what the visitors provide to Aberdeen. Aberdeen wants to provide back to those hunting visitors as well.
High Point Pet Foods presents Country Creations Dog Foods, offering quality nutrition for the life of your canine companion. To fuel the fire of puppyhood into keeping the energy level high of an active young dog, optimizing the performance of the hard-charging adult, or having a quality diet for your senior canine companion. Country Creations has you covered with their quality formulas. Get in touch with High Point Pet Foods today. Midwest Gun Dog Kennels is your full-time gun dog training facility. For over 30 years, we have customized our training to fit each individual gun dog. We know it takes a well-trained gun dog to handle wild birds. Make every hunting trip a dream trip. Let Midwest Gun Dog Kennels put excitement back into your hunt of a lifetime. Midwest Gun Dog Kennels, where experience equals excellence.
Dakota Pheasant Guide offers the best wild pheasant hunts from the Glacial Lakes area of South Dakota west to the Missouri River. Packages available include everything from self-guided to fully guided hunts. Book your bird hunting adventure now. Fishermen, iTime Promotions is your ticket to an enjoyable and successful day on the water. Call Dennis Foster for your outdoor adventure of a lifetime.
Hey folks, Tom Porker here, Focus Outdoors Television, Midwest Gun Dog Kennels. Say 4th of July, and I'm getting my kennel truck ready for the upcoming season, and I'm gonna hear it, you know. You're nuts, what are you doing out there? It's 92 degrees and blah, blah, blah. But we've been working here at the kennel all day. That's just what you do when you're a dog guy. So I got thinking, boy, you know, in August here, we're gonna go start running some dogs. Gonna take them in the woods, try to find some new covers, make sure they're all in shape by hunting season. Just get our own legs going and get out there and enjoy the cool days if we have some. And for sure, in the evenings, we're really gonna hit her hard when it cools down, you know, at the end of each day. So that's what I'm doing today on the 4th. But basically, when I started going through one of our kennel trucks here, I thought, you know what? I wonder if folks would be interested in kind of what we use and you know, why, and some of those types of scenarios. Since we're talking dogs to start with here, one of the biggest things to me is nutrition. And nutrition is number one when it comes to the health of hard-working dogs or any pet. There's no doubt about it. You know, here, you know, we use Country Creations, High Point Pet Foods on a Shawnee, Oklahoma makes it. This specific mix is a 30-20. I really don't deviate from that formula at all. I might cut them back some in the summer when it's hot like this because they're not going to eat it all anyway, nor are they working as hard. And then I'll go back and I'll crease it, you know, as we work harder, the air cools off, and we're really gung-ho to get in shape for the hunting season. So it's been a really good food for us. I just had a litter of puppies from Kylie. We kept one, her name's Kira, and we're really excited about that. So far she's super naughty, so we'll see how that goes. But you know, I'm feeding the puppies the same food. I like consistency in my training, consistency in my dog food, and consistency in all the tools I use. It's just flows better. It's easier for me. I like reaction. I don't want to have to think too much about things. And you know, that kind of leads into the training collars we use. We use Sport Dog at the kennel, and I use Sport Dog when I'm guiding in the woods or just hunting for myself. And in the woods, I use the 1875. It's got a beeper, plus the training collar. It's very versatile. When we're in the woods, let's be honest, folks, very rarely do you see your dog much if it's hunting correctly in the woods. So that beeper collar gives me some extra added trackability, if you will. And if things get kind of hairy, I go back and I rely on my Tech 2, which is a GPS locating collar. So far, mine has been super efficient. Let's say I don't want to use the beeper, you know, for a day. Maybe I'll run a bell and the GPS. Maybe, you know, we hunt a lot of public land. Sometimes the reason why I would do that is the birds get jumpy. They start with pressure. They start going early and those kinds of things. This way we can approach a little more quietly. And I think for ourselves and my customers, I think the rate of quality shots has gone up since we started doing some of this stuff. This is also as important to me as a lot of tools we use, and that's shot shells. I want to anchor those birds. I want clean kills. I want consistency in the patterns. All that is really, really important for taking birds and being humane about it. What I usually use in the grouse woods, I'll use a Fiocchi high velocity load in 20 gauge, but it'll be a 1 ounce load with 7.5 instead of 7/8 with 7.5. And that's still probably my preferred, but let's say I'm going into a woodcock hole where I don't expect a lot of grouse. This would be ideal for that in the woods. And speaking of grouse, we're going to shift gears a little bit and go out to the grasslands, out in the Dakotas, Montana, out there. Now this load is a 12 gauge load. Again, this is a kind of a dove load, but I really liked it. It's 1 1/8 ounces, and for a lot of our customers who maybe don't get to hunt as much, I really think, you know, Fiocchi's came out with a wide variety of excellent loads. But I tested this on Sharpies this year. I was very pleased. Again, sharptails aren't super hard to bring down, but it's the anchoring that I liked in this shell. It gets you out to that next range, you know, because a lot of days are going to take off right at the extended range of a shotgun. So you get on them quick. 12 gauge gives you that extra added oomph to bring them down. Exceptional load. This was 1 1/8 ounces, 12 gauge, 2 3/4, 7.5. Again, wide variety of shells from Fiocchi. Super good equipment there.
Diesel train rolls down the line as I'm headed for the land of corn and rye. There is a place I'm always satisfied, full of remedies to ease my worried mind, like pulling catfish on the banks of Cherry